We all know of Danbilzerian as the showboaty multi-millionaire playboy. But what about the parts of his life that aren't so well known? These are the things you didn't know about Danbilzerian, ex-Navy SEAL. Dan spent 510 days in Navy SEAL training. Yep, he almost became part of the elite group of soldiers that killed none other than Osama bin Laden, but it never came to be. Even after more than a year of grinding, Dan failed twice and then permanently dropped out. He also had some issues with the officer in charge, which couldn't have made the training any easier for him. 2 heart attacks before 30. Viagra, cocaine, and alcohol can be a recipe for disaster. And Danbilzerian had to find that out the hard way. After sleeping for only 1 hour in a total of 4 days and going on a drinking and drug binge, Dan found himself not being able to breathe properly and feeling pain in his shoulder. So, what did he do next? Exactly what you'd expect Danbilzerian to do. He drove himself to the hospital and got treated for back-to-back heart attacks. Well played, Dan. Fraudster father. Danbilzerian's father was a Wall Street hotshot and made millions before being convicted of fraud. It turns out Paul Bilzerian failed to make disclosures relating to his corporate takeover businesses and served 13 months in jail as a result. Not only that, but he was driven into bankruptcy by the authorities and has been fighting a long legal battle that's still ongoing to this day. Lonely childhood. As one of the most popular men on the planet, you wouldn't expect Dan to be lonely as a child. But it turns out he spent a lot of time alone when he was younger. Growing up in an 11-bedroom mansion in Florida wasn't that easy, apparently. And Dan said he didn't get much attention as a kid, which is why he's so flashy as an adult. His biggest fear. If you think Dan wouldn't have many fears, you'd be right. Dan's biggest fear is someone breaking in and him not being able to decide what gun to shoot them with. With a gun collection fit for a small army, it seems to be a valid fear. Arrested in school. Bilzerian was arrested in his senior year of high school for driving to school with guns in his car. Yep, that is how you know he definitely isn't putting on an act, and has always been a gun fanatic from a very young age. Film career, Instagram, and poker playing never seemed to be enough for Dan, as he's now found a second career as an actor and stuntman. He was a stunt double for Gerard Butler in the Hollywood hit Olympus Has Fallen, and has also appeared in huge films like The Equalizer and The Other Woman. Now, his film career, it fell apart soon after, when he invested $1 million in the movie Lone Survivor for 8 minutes on screen. But this was eventually cut down to only 1 minute after edits, and at that very moment is when Dan realized the Hollywood business wasn't for him. Troubled child. Dan wasn't a great student at school. He was badly bullied because of his father's corruption charges, and had to change schools twice as a result. One of those times, he was expelled due to outrageous behavior, whatever that means. Dan's married? Well, this one might be the most shocking fact we've heard in a while. Dan's constantly surrounded by models, so the fact that he's married is probably a huge shock to everyone. In an Instagram post this year, Dan posted a picture of him walking down an aisle with an unknown lady captioned, "I finally did it." Now, whether that's true or not, congratulations, Dan.